should let me love you forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Hello! Hi, family. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Melanated Way. I'm Linda. That's my co-host, April. Or I should go like that. And we are covering 90 Day, The Last Resort, The Tell-All, Part 2. And when I say I am thoroughly enjoying myself, I am thoroughly enjoying myself. How about you, April?
Yeah, this was good. This was juicy. This was what reality TV is supposed to be in this day and age, right?
100%. Tanya, thank you. I love it too. It's super cute. It's backless.
It is.
If I could show you the
It's
back,
very
I would.
classy.
It's classy in the front and like sexy in the back because it's backless. But
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Yeah, all things we look for in reality TV was definitely represented in this Tell-All Part 2. They started off with Julia. We find out that Julia has not kissed one guy, but she's kissed two guys while she was dating Brandon. And here's the thing, you guys. She thought they had broken up because they had a big fight when they were in Russia together. She, yes, was going through the K-1 visa process because he said that he had filed, but she also thought it was over. April, what were your thoughts on that?
I think it's the same thing that we talked about before. If there's no clarity in exactly what the boundaries are in the relationship and when the relationship existed versus when it doesn't, then how can you hold somebody responsible for their behavior? So if they're the kind of couple that gets in a fight and you say, I'm done, we're done, well, then we're done. Right?
That part.
So I wouldn't even call it cheating what Julia did, because just because the K-1 remains pending, just because the mortgage remains outstanding, just because the utility bill still needs to be paid, does not mean that we are still in a relationship.
Exactly. And, you guys have to have those conversations. You have to have the conversations. Are we in an exclusive relationship? Are we going to be dating other people? Especially when it's long distance, right? Because you don't get to see the day in, the day out. And so you have to have very specific conversations so that the couple, the two of you, are on the same page. So one person doesn't do XYZ, the other person gets their feelings hurt. Have those conversations. They might be uncomfortable, but guess what? They're going to save you a lot of hurt and anxiety. Hi, Renee. Hey, girl. Hey. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was, so Jasmine is like, oh, you kissed the second guy? Was it a French kiss? I want to know. And I want you guys to keep that in the back of your mind, because I had a thought about Jasmine that I haven't had ever since we met her up until this episode, the Tell-All Part 2. So hold on to that, because I'm going to circle back. What I did think was interesting, you guys, was the response from Brandon's parents, Betty and Ron. She was like, listen, I thought we were done. He's like, oh, well, you were acting single. We were engaged. And she's like, well, you thought it was just a fight. I thought we were done. Ron steps in, and I feel like they redeemed themselves from the previous part 1. Ron was like, listen, she made a mistake, but she chose Brandon. So it's time for both of you to put it behind you and just recommit to your love. And Betty, who, enables Brandon, agreed. April, she agreed.
You know what that means to me? That they must know that whatever Brandon said in the course of that particular argument was so severe that it was reasonable for Julia to believe that the relationship was over.
100%. Agree with you. 100%. So Brandon's playing victim. He's like, have you cheated since you've been married? She's like, no. She goes over to apologize to him. She stands up to give him a hug. He acts like a big baby, because I do think he's a big baby. He's a man boy. And he wouldn't stand up at first. And she had to coax him into standing up. So when asked if you feel like you deserve an apology and your wife is big enough and grown enough and mature enough and healthy enough to say, you know what? I am going to apologize, and gets up out of her seat, not just sits there and be like, hey, yeah, sorry. She gets up, goes to greet you, not only greet you, but hug you and love you and show you affection, show you that she has remorse, and you want to sit there and act like a big baby and not get up. I was just not a fan. April, thoughts?
Not a fan, especially in light of the fact that he could not give her a simple apology in the last episode.
That part. So then Rob chimes in, and Rob has had a lot to say in this tell-all, you guys. And, I'm listening. I'm listening to what Rob has to say. So he's like, give Brandon a minute. He just heard about this and he needs some time to process. Okay, that could be it. But also, too, we had a whole season where they were supposed to be in therapy and they were supposed to have the tools to deal with conflict. And this is my point, where I just don't think that's what happened when they were at that retreat, because he has zero tools and he's not even reverting back. He's continuing his big baby behavior. And I just don't think it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not just about him not having enough time to digest. He wants to play the victim, and he wants to use that victim card to manipulate Julia into getting what he wants. So when she continues to say, are you going to let this go, or are we going to deal with this our whole marriage? He wants to hold on to it because he thinks he can manipulate her into having a baby.
Correct. Same thought process I had. Exact same.
Awful. So this whole situation has also triggered Ari. And she's like, the only thing you can do is change your behavior, right? And we knew that she wasn't talking about the Brandon and Julia situation. She was talking about her own situation, which we're going to get to in part 3. But Brandon's like, I don't trust her right now. And his own mother, who, big baby Brandon is close to, says, hey, how do I say that? Basclium and raspberry? Close enough. His own mother tells him to put it behind him and to recommit to their love. I was like, oh, did y'all have a second margarita and now it's loose lips? Like,
they did seem to be a little zooted.
I was shocked. Even Julie was shocked. She's like, this is the first time they were actually siding with me. And I was like, yes, Julia, I'm shocked too. Hey, Tysley. Mm-hmm. Hey, girl, hey. We move on to Sophie. What are your thoughts before I get started?
Okay, so coming into this off of the part 1, remember, I was a bit confused about why she was continuing this relationship with Rob. So going into part 2, now I just think that she's just confused about what she's doing in life.
Facts. Hey, Raydella. Hey, girl. Hey, y'all. I had an amazing weekend. Raydella is the reason. So I just want to say thank you. Hey, girl. Hey. We went to the Audi Grand Prix all weekend in Long Beach, and it was a blast. Vroom, 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 vroom. Hey, India. Hey, girl. Hey. Okay, so Sophie got her boobs done. She feels more confident. She says she's on a journey of self-love, and part of that self-love was getting her boobs done. And here's what was interesting to me, you guys, and definitely let's take a poll, live chat, replay, April. So Rob thinks she looks amazing, and she decided that she was going to show them off to him. And so backstage in a quote unquote changing room, she showed him to see his thoughts. Now, y'all, when I say messy, some people are just messy. I think Rob and Sophie are messy. I think that they feed off of that messy drama. I think it's attractive to them for some reason. I think so, because people are like, well, was she doing it for revenge? Like, hey, look what you can't have. But here's the thing, Rob is a grown-ass man. He could have said, no, I don't want to see, but he wanted to see, because I feel like it's some weird toxic foreplay. What do you think?
So because of everything surrounding them, I know it probably seems like they're just needlessly torturing each other. But I think there is a place for, if you have something done, somebody who already knew you from before that thing was done, there's something about being able to share that with them or for them to see it as opposed to a new person.
Mm.
So I've had friends that have had breast reductions and also friends that have had like work to go up, and they always want to show them to me. And I don't think it's anything like sexual or anything. I think it's just, you're a person who saw me before and I want you to see me after because you can see what the difference is as
Hmm.
opposed to a brand new person.
Okay, that's fair. Although I will put on this caveat that I think it's different when you are married to someone and have been in an intimate relationship with someone and you're no longer with them and you're supposed to be separated. I just think it's messy. And as we know, moving on in this tell-all, that they were separated, they didn't talk, but then something happened. They go to Disneyland. They have a great day together. She feels like Rob is treating her like the relationship that she always wanted. And all of a sudden, they decide that they're going to be intimate. And they're intimate for months regularly. And so I just think it's messy. I don't think it's just like, hey, look at me before and look at me after. I think that there's something there that is toxic that they haven't worked out yet because, again, they weren't given the tools in their therapy on Bearsall, on the last resort. Bearsall, that's hilarious, you guys. She bared
Yeah,
all.
they were not. They were not giving the tools. So it does give more messy. But if it was any other circumstance, I could completely understand someone just wanting you to see the before and after, but it's not a healthy thing for them. And she even admitted, we cut off our sexual relationship because I realized it was not healthy for either one of us. But then you show up at the tell-all and you're like, hey, want to see this work I just got done? So it's like there's some elements there that make it seem like it's not a good idea.
Tanya says, Sophie just wants a friend with benefits, not a relationship. The same for Rob, Josh, and Natalie. Agreed. So we also find out
she wants a friend with benefits. I don't think Sophie knows 100% what she wants, to be quite honest.
I mean,
right?
I
Because
don't think
if she was
that's what she
after,
wants. Go ahead.
if she was after a friends with benefit relationship, she never needed to marry Rob for that. I'm pretty sure he would have been okay with not getting married, right?
I'm gonna use your own thoughts and comments from before. I think that if you think that Sophie was using him for a green card, then being friends with benefits and then getting married, it helps her all the way around because she gets her needs met. She gets to feel loved. She gets to feel like wanted. Plus, she gets the green card. Plus, she gets to come to America. Plus, she gets to go to Disneyland. So, I don't know, April. I think that maybe what Tanya is saying might be true. Like, now she's gotten what she wanted. Now it's just a friends with benefit. She didn't want to, because a lot of women are like this, where they're single, but they don't want their numbers to go up. So they're just going to continue to recycle the people that they've already been with. She's already been with Rob. She knows Rob. She's comfortable with Rob. Any insecurities that she's holding on to, he already knows them and accepts them. So it's a win-win for her.
Right. Free yourself from the numbers, ladies. Don't worry about the numbers. Just worry about being safe. Get tested, make that other person get tested, and move on. Don't recycle people just because of the numbers.
That part. So go to Disneyland. They have a great time. And then all of a sudden it stopped. Took Rob about 3 months to get over Sophie. He started dating someone else. We find out that he found another British girl, and that's all we know about it. And Josh is joking that he might have a thing for Brits. And Sophie had a little bit of a reaction to that, a little bit of jealousy, because she's like, oh, she probably has a thicker accent than me. And that was telling to me, you guys, because I do think that, especially in America, when you are a foreigner, anything that it seems exotic is well played.
I Okay. I got a different feeling from when she said that.
What did you think?
Total assumption. I do think that what you said, it could probably be right though. But my brain went to, does she feel like she's not perceived as a real British person because of her appearance? And that's why she's making a big deal about the accent?
Maybe, but I know a lot of Black British women, and I'll tell you, in America, it's a whole thing. Even as a Canadian, it's a whole thing. Like, ooh, where are you from? You know, that whole, like, you talk different, you look different. It's like a whole thing. And, you know, some people can play off it. And I think I think it was more that, in my opinion, than her not thinking that, like, she was really a British person. I think it was more like, hey, listen, is she better than me? Is her accent thicker than me? Thought more sexy and more exotic than me? That's the vibe that I got, because, you know, it's Sophie. So we also find out that since the breakup, so Rob dated one girl, Sophie dated two people, a guy and a girl, because again, we heard that she was bisexual. I'm not sure where she stands in all of this. She hasn't really, I don't know. Like April said, like, I don't think Sophie knows what she wants exactly. I think she goes off of the moment. I think she goes off of who's paying her attention. And I don't think that she's done the work to really decide and know what her sexuality is moving forward in her life. But I know that that's going to happen for her at some point, because it's going to have to happen, or she's going to continue to be in these messy relationships. So she dated a guy and a girl, and we find out from Rob that the guy she dated was the baby daddy of the girl she dated, but she didn't know.
Do we believe that she didn't know?
What do you think, April?
Chat? Do we believe, chat, that she didn't know before I say anything? Well, as Florian would say, little biscuit. What does he call her? Little biscuit? I think this little biscuit is not as aloof enough to have a sexual or other kind of relationship with someone and not know that it was the partner of her previous partner, or the ex-partner of her previous partner. I don't believe that story, that she didn't know. Even if you just heard the child had the same name, you're just talking and you hear the kid has the same name, that would be enough for you to inquire.
Y'all, stop it. If you met that baby, you went to that person's house, you saw pictures, the school, the pickups, you didn't put two and two together. You had no idea that woman and that man had a baby together. You didn't go to a child pickup, or you didn't even meet the child with the dude or with the female and be like, ooh, this is the same child? Like, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. And if it happened, then shame on you for not asking questions. You knew that, because the first thing that came out of her mouth is like, oh, I dated a guy and he was a single dad. I dated a woman, she was a single mom. So you knew that they were single with child. So are you not asking questions? Because that's the first thing I'm asking. Like, oh, tell me about your kid. Like, when were you married, or when did it happen? How old is your kid? What's your kid's name? All the things. Because as a parent, their child is their first priority. So they're going to want to talk freely. So you're trying to tell me that you dated them separately and apart, and little Sammy's name, little Sammy over here, didn't ring a bell. Tony over here and Tony over there didn't ring a bell. Baby bro over here and baby bro over here. Like, okay, that's on you then.
Yeah, so we're not with you on not knowing that.
Not at all. And you should not tell that story to anyone, because you sound
ridiculous. It makes you sound quite ridiculous.
Quite ridiculous.
I think I'm an open-minded person. That sounded ridiculous.
y'all know that I have opinions and I talk a lot. And I am sticking to 10 toes deep down, whatever, under the ground. That is ridiculous. And you should know better as a grown-ass woman, period. Rob and Sophie, should they remain friends? Sophie says no. It's better that they should not speak at all, and it's healthy for them to just separate their ways. Rob is going to move forward with a divorce, and I 100% agree. I think that's the only sane thing that this relationship has said to me. You guys realize that you're toxic to each other, break ways. You don't have to be besties with your ex, especially when it's only ever been a messy, toxic situation. What are your thoughts, April?
Same. Although I do believe that men and women can be friends, I don't think this is a relationship where a friendship is necessary or needed. They don't have anything connecting them that requires them to work on their friendship. They can just go ahead and be Splitsville. There's no need, like they don't have to co-parent. They don't have to co-raise a dog. They don't have to live in the same city. They don't have to be involved in each other's lives whatsoever. So there's no point in forcing a friendship out of this.
100%. Move on. Keep it pushing. Go to therapy individually. Work on yourselves. And as Sophie said, she's on this love tour, self-love tour. Self-love is definitely about finding yourself, feeling comfortable with yourself, and whatever that looks like, because I'm a supporter. If you need to get a nip or a tuck or a injection or an extension or whatever makes you feel beautiful about yourself, I'm all about that. There's no judgment here, but you can't only do the outside work, you have to do the inside work. And so, yes, you can beautify yourself, but you need to beautify yourself on the inside. And that means taking a look at your mental health and the choices you make, the relationships you are in, and the trauma that you've had. And if you don't deal with that stuff, the saying is, everywhere you look, there you are, or whatever.
Yeah.
If you look in the mirror, there you are. Everywhere you look, there you are. So that stuff is not going to go anywhere. You can be the best version of yourself on the outside, but if you're not going to be the best version of yourself on the inside, you're going to repeat the same toxic, unhealthy patterns.
Right. I would just make a caveat that yes, you can have plastic surgery if it makes you feel better, but I would encourage some analysis on why you're having plastic surgery to be sure that whatever issue doesn't persist beyond the plastic surgery, right? Because it's quite possible she could have her breast done and then still the issue that led to it persist if she didn't correctly deal with it beforehand.
But that's what I'm saying. You can do all the outside work, but you need to do the inside work.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so I'm saying, and just so we're clear, Tanya and April, just so that we're clear, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to judge someone to get outside work. Do whatever you think you need to do, but inside work needs to be done as well. Right? So,
right. And I would just say, like, the inside work for the most part is probably more important than any outside work.
I think it can be both, because you know what? The outside work is going to be immediate and you'll see the results, but the inside work is going to need to be done long term until you're healed. So they go hand in hand. So like I said, I don't fault anyone. Tanya, I think Darcy and Stacy, I don't know if because I know Darcy, and I've known Darcy since like 2017, and I've seen the multiple versions of her on the outside, and I don't know. Like, I don't know what people say. I don't know if it's like a mental illness. I don't know if it's a disease. I don't know if it's an addiction. But there are people that get multiple surgeries and continue, like, that's all they do now. And I think that someone needs to do a study on it. I think that you all want to blame these people, because it's men and women, but I would take it a step further. And you need to think about the doctors that are continuing to do the work without sitting down and talking to them about having an unnecessary surgery. Like, at what point, I mean, how many lip plumps and I don't know, eye lifts, and I don't know all the names of it, but you all know what I'm trying to say. It's like, when is enough? When have you reached the perfection in your mind? Or will there never be perfection because we're imperfect people? And so when do the doctors have to take responsibility and say no, rather than that money that they're going to get from doing the surgery?
Yeah. So I've been to a couple of plastic surgery consultations, and I think that before you go, if you ever are planning on going to a plastic surgery consult, what you need to know is that there are a lot of plastic surgeons who will make your dysmorphia worse. And it's almost impossible to know who those surgeons are before you go consult with them. Because when you look at their reviews are either going to be, they did a good job for me, they did a bad job for me. Not very many people are going to speak to what their mental health was going into the appointment and how it was afterwards. So I did 2 consultations with 2 different plastic surgeons because I had surgery here. And so the surgeons always said that when I got older, that I could go and have a consultation about getting filler put in because they had to take out a lot of my cartilage over here. The first plastic surgeon that I went to actually was really great. I enjoyed my consultation with him. He was explaining like different kinds of filler, where the injection would come from, how long it would take. He told me I couldn't wear glasses anymore if I decided to do this because the filler does sometimes migrate, blah, 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 blah. But he was not covered under my insurance. And so he sent me to a partner in his practice where my insurance would be able to pay for the surgery. I had the worst experience with that doctor. The first doctor talked to me using my name like a person. The second doctor was like, okay, with the defect that you have, the defect this, the defect that, and he's like, we have to take very good pictures to ensure that the defect will be covered by the insurance company. Oh, this is going to be great because I usually only get to do boobs and it'll be something different for my repertoire. Do you mind if I use your pictures for my website? Like, it was just horrible. And then after you get your filler done, then we can do your nose. Like,
did you ask about your nose?
No.
Wow.
No. So some of them will make your situation worse and how you feel about yourself. I came out of that consultation knowing, like, even if I ever do this, I would never use that doctor. But someone who had a different mindset going into that surgery could have come out saying, oh my God, now I have to do my nose. I need to do my lips. I need to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really, really disgusting. That's really disgusting.
You just have to be very careful because it's very easy. I could see very easily how somebody would get sucked down the pipeline of having multiple procedures if you go to a physician like that.
Yeah.
And then you still probably would feel the same way about yourself because your dysmorphia has gotten so bad, you don't even see the same person in the mirror that everybody else is seeing. It's the only reason that I could even explain, like, all of those bad BBLs that we see, those people are not seeing what we see in the mirror. They can't be.
I do think someone needs to do a study because you also have 2 people doing the same things, right? So Darcy and Stacy. And so, yeah, I think someone needs to do a study on this. I'm very curious because that's true. Body dysmorphia is a thing. And like I said, I'm not sure if it's like a mental illness or addiction or what it is, but it's something. And for someone who is, medically trained to feed into that for money, it seems terrible to me. So we're moving on. Natalie has a final dig. I don't know if it's a final dig, but another dig towards Sophie, and says, "Oh, Rob is a good person, and he deserves the best." And hey, Aubrey, hey, girl, hey. He deserves the best. And Sophie, maybe you're a good person, but you're lost a bit. I laughed. I laughed aloud, y'all. Natalie? What are you saying, Natalie? That Sophie's lost? Can we talk about
Right.
you? Because all
Right.
the things that Sophie did, even reconnecting with her toxic ex, you did the same thing. And I, per se, would say that she was in a better situation because that's her husband. Josh didn't even claim you as his girlfriend. So who's lost where?
Right. So I was really happy with the way that Sophie defended herself in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was so unnecessary for Natalie to make that comment. So it's like clearly, she has a specific issue with women and a specific issue with Sophie. But Sophie defended herself well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was like, does Natalie, not every, and I hate, you know what, it's that mean girl vibe, mean girl syndrome, where you think you're a beautiful woman and then you are insecure around other beautiful women and you look at them as competition rather than your friend or potential friend or an ally. And it's a weird thing because I don't understand it because I would never be that chick. But Natalie feels threatened by other beautiful women. And so she wants to like knock them down. Y'all need to cut that shit out. Cut it out.
Yeah.
It's not attractive, and B, you sound and look crazy when you do it, and then you're gonna end up with no friends. So when Natalie's like, "Oh, I don't have any friends here at the resort," and you wonder why, fix your trauma, fix that toxic behavior, and maybe you'll make a friend. Okay, so you guys remember at the top of the show where I talked about Jasmine and I said keep that in the back of your mind when Jasmine was asking about Julia and the French kiss and that she needed to know. Okay, it's important in this situation here because here we have still on Sophie, and we get a behind the scenes of Julia and Jasmine again. And Jasmine is like casually off camera, on camera, telling Julia that Sophie has a sugar daddy. Why do you think she's always traveling? She's getting with this guy, etc., etc. Spreading this rumor that she heard, but she won't say who her source was. And so Sean asks, who's this sugar daddy? And Sophie's like, oh yeah, it's my 93-year-old sugar daddy. But she was joking. There's no sugar daddy. It was a conversation that Rob and Jasmine had when Jasmine was having her breakdown, when she was sitting on the curb outside of the bar, having one of her numerous fights with Gino. Well, Rob was trying to comfort her, and Rob put it out there because Jasmine was asking, like, what's going on with Sophie? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe she has a sugar daddy. And then Jasmine took that information and spread this rumor and came up with she has a sugar daddy. That's why she's traveling all over the place. She's giving it up, yada, yada, yada. Now, I didn't think of it until this very episode. But Jasmine, I don't know if she's a girl's girl. Because Jasmine has a big mouth and Jasmine is not a keeper of secrets. And here's why. So, Julie and Brandon, she chimes in. She wants to know whether it was a regular kiss or a French kiss. Florian and Stacy, she jumped in on Florian. She had all the problems with Florian. They almost, knocking drinks off, all the things. We'll talk about it shortly. With Rob and Sophie, we saw her throwing shoes, calling him names, all of the things. With Natalie and Josh, she's the one that outed Josh going to Vegas and Natalie not knowing. Like, every couple, she's been the source of whatever the issue is. She spreads the rumor. I don't need friends like that. And I just literally realized in this episode, Jasmine is one of those women that you're like, are you my friend? Are you my frenemy? Because you're putting stuff out there that maybe I told you in confidence, and now it's all out there and it begins to be messy. And that's never okay. What are your thoughts, April?
So I was wondering, is her behavior, she's always had some kind of, flair to her behavior, but is it ramping up because she wants to secure her spot as a solo act without Gino?
But even let's take it outside of it being about reality TV. Right?
Okay.
Let's take it outside of that, because she has plenty of opportunities in her own life and drama to be a solo act. Now she's got a new man, she's got a baby, all the things. She's already like done multiple photo shoots announcing the birth, and then she did like after birth photo shoot with Matt. So she knows how to make money. We talked about it in the last episode where she doesn't do interviews if she's not getting paid. She's not going to give you the scoop if she's not getting paid. Like, let's take it outside of that. Let's take it out to the basics where it's just about women to women. April, if I told you something in confidence, I don't expect you to turn around and throw it out there, not only to my face, but to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. And in every,
Right.
and especially when it comes to relationships, because as women, we tend to talk about a relationship and try to get advice from our friends on a regular basis. And here she is throwing it out there. And I just gave you like literally half a dozen examples.
And the worst one being just like spreading a random rumor. Like Rob not serious when he said that Sophie had a sugar baby. So her just deciding to spread this random rumor is weird.
I mean, I think that's bad. I also think it's bad that she was, Julia and Brandon. We already know Brandon's a big baby. And then you want to know if it was a French kiss. Like, why? It was in the past. If you're supporting your friend, then support your friend. Like, hey, that was a mistake. Apologize and let's keep it pushing.
Yeah.
But no, you want to you want to make the wound bigger.
He's a little bit of a shitster.
A little bit. Y'all in the live chat, let me know what you all think. Ty's Way says she totally agree. Jasmine shouldn't be talking. She's the only one there married and pregnant by not her husband. Y'all in the live chat, let me know what you think. If you're watching the replay, let's talk about it. Okay, moving on. Yeah. I don't like a rumor spreader, especially when you don't have all the facts and you continue to talk. Just stop doing that, you guys. Rob calls Jasmine poison, and in this moment, I agreed with him. I was like, this is a poisonous type of friendship, and she needs to stop doing that, because what goes around comes around, and you got a lot of skeletons in your own closet, and some of the stuff that you've been saying, even on this tell-all, it's not 100% accurate. They go to lunch. We see some behind-the-scenes stuff. Brandon is talking about the pain of the past, the kisses that Julia had with those two men. But after hearing about Sophie and Gino, doesn't feel as bad about the situation, which I thought was like wild, because I don't think he even cared about those situations. He cared about using his situation to make Julia have a baby. And then there was this like weird thing that I'm still like, I just felt like it was filler, you guys. Like, because what was the purpose of it? And there was no follow-up. If you're gonna talk about like sexuality and editions or games or toys, then like follow through. That's my whole problem with this season, you guys. You have therapy, but not real therapy. There's no follow through. There's no tools. You have, and the only, I think her name is Reba. She was the only real therapist, in my opinion, the sex therapist. You're going to talk about sex, then like be all in, talk about it. Don't throw something out there and confuse the audience. At least I was confused. So Julia comes out with this mask on. She's trying to be fun as the masked man or masked woman. She's quote unquote the sex woman. And then they have this weird dialogue. The city is plagued by crime and bad sex. But like, what was that even about?
What was that? I was like, maybe there's something that I missed from their earlier appearances that relates to that moment in time.
If you missed it, I missed it. And if y'all in the live chat know what that was about, please fill me in, because I had, like, it was random. Because here's my issue with it. Taking it back, because I watch and y'all know I take notes. So taking it back to the episode where they talked about one of their issues because they weren't being intimate was Brandon's a little prudish and Julia likes to have fun. So their specific therapy was to go home and role play. Right? So if this was a role play and an extension and a tool from that, then you all needed to give me that caveat. Y'all needed to explain to me that they took that tool home, they used it, and now here's a fun little ha ha ha, here's where we are in our relationship, because it seems super random and super like stupid in my opinion, and it didn't fit. Like, where was it supposed to land? What was I getting from that?
Yeah, please, guys, tell us what was going on.
Jasmine on her lunch break calls Matt, and here's where I was also like, oh, she's not a truth teller. She's I was gonna say embezzler. That's not. What's the word I'm looking for? She embellishes her stories. So now she says that she's being attacked by all the men. The men are sitting on a separate side and they're all attacking her. And she said that they called her child the third child.
I never heard that word.
They never did. That word never came out, April. That's why she's an embellisher. They did call her the W word. Yes, a pregnant W word. That did happen. They did call her the S word, a pregnant S word. That did happen. But then she said that they were attacking her. But here's where I had an issue. I did have an issue, and I talked about it in our previous episode, where if you don't have, as a male, if you don't have really any comeback and you resort to degrading women by name calling them, that's on you. You have a problem. But she didn't tell Matt her part of it, right? Because she gave equally ugly words, and also she got physically abusive. She was throwing her shoe. She didn't mention that part. And she also didn't mention the part where she started it. She started all of this. She came out swinging, and she wanted to say a bunch of stuff to Rob, and she didn't like what he had to say. So now all the men are attacking her.
Right. She didn't mention, before he said anything to me, I called him a clown. I do think that his response was an overreaction, but you're completely right that she didn't own up to the part that she played in it.
She didn't even mention what she did.
Didn't mention, and I think it's particularly heinous to tell Matt they called my child that word, like you're trying to evoke some feeling from him or manipulate him in some way, when that never happened.
Never happened. Stacey and Florian. I do love this couple. They, during the retreat, really felt when they got home that they were arguing less and they had reignited their passion. Things were good for a little bit after the resort. But it's been quite some time since the resort. The last 3-4 months have been rocky. Therapy didn't help, Florian said. He doesn't believe in therapy. He did it for Stacey. He doesn't believe in a stranger coming to talk to him for money. I laughed at that. Y'all really go to real therapy. You'll see. They'll heal you and they'll help you. But that being said, I laughed. Florian, when asked by Sean where he thinks his relationship is, he said every day the relationship is going down. They argue about everything, big things, small things, doesn't matter. Stacey feels like her husband doesn't like her. And the only time he's nice to her is when he wants or needs something, which I thought was a missed opportunity. I will say this. Sean has hosted the show from the get-go. She's the host. But I do think there are often times where there are missed opportunities to explore, if you're truly actively listening to what the interviewees are saying. In my opinion, this was a missed opportunity. So when Stacey said he only likes me when he wants or needs something, I think that that's important, April, especially when you're talking about a 90-day K-1 visa relationship, because you are feeding into the stereotype of where I needed the green card for the first, and you can explore on this because I can't remember. I think it's like the first year, however long it takes to get your green card. You're American, or you're the whoever is that citizen has to support you, because you can't work till you get your green card. You can't work till you have your social security card. So those are all things that I thought was a missed opportunity. So like, how, now that you guys have been married for almost 10 years, do you feel like he's only nice to you when he wants or needs something? And then later in the episode, she said that she's responsible for him, because you know what? You're only responsible for X amount of years, and you're also still married. So April, do you want to take that away? Because I have so much to say, but I would love to get a legal perspective on it.
Yeah, so let's get like some basic information down. So the earliest that you are probably going to be able to work if you come to the US on a K-1 visa would be, let's say you get married right at the 89th day, and then you submit your paperwork on the 90th day. You're going to have a 2 to 4 month wait after that before you get your work permit. And then you don't get a job instantly. Most people don't instantly are able to find employment. So you're out of work. So let's say that's 3 months plus another 4 months. You're out of work for at the very least 7 months before you can start to support yourself. During that time, you are 100% dependent on your petitioner or your spouse that brought you over here. Now, how long are they responsible for you for? They're responsible for you until you become a citizen, or until you have X quarters of work on your Social Security record. But a lot of people think that that means that you have to supply a place for them to live and buy their clothes and buy their food. That's not what that means. What it means is, if I, as the immigrant, let's say I'm the immigrant, if I, as the immigrant, go to the Department of Children and Family Services and apply for food stamps, and I'm granted food stamps, then the government has the right to go back to my spouse who petitioned for me and recoup whatever they pay me out in food stamps or housing benefit or anything like that. That's all it means. So when people think that it means I can take you to court because you have to provide all of my basic living expenses, even if we get divorced, that's not what it means. It is the contract between the sponsor and the government. It is not a contract between the petitioner and their spouse. That is the affidavit of support.
There you go. See, y'all. Give you a little entertainment, some legal information. Y'all, see, this is why I love us. I love us. Oh, that being said.
No, I agree with you. I think that Sean has a list of questions that she is trying to get through, and that list of questions impedes her sometimes from doing a follow-up on really good bits that we hear from the participants.
Okay.
But I don't know what her directions are and how in-depth she can go, but there are a lot of times that she just says, okay, and we'll hear more about that later, when the follow-up question was right there. Not saying she's a bad host. I just, because I don't know what her instructions are. But there's a lot of times when things get left on the table that if we're going to have a 3-episode tell-all, girl, we got time. We can cut out that thing with Julia.
I'm going to say this. I'll say this. Hey, girl, hey. I'm going to say this. I think she is, she's very talented. She's a great host. I do think that she doesn't watch the show and she's not invested. And that is why it's very like corporate. I'm going to follow direction. I'm not going to go off my cue cards because I can't, because I don't know anything about the show, because I don't watch the show. I don't think she watches the show. Because TLC is messy. Look at all the shows that they have. Little People, the friggin' new show where there's like 2 married couples. They're all dating each other and they all have babies together. I don't know the name, but it's brand new. Look at like the polygamy, 3 wives, sister wives, before sister wives. Like, they don't mind getting down and dirty. So it's not that. It's she doesn't watch the show. And to add to that, I think his name is Andy Cohen, the host for the Housewives and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
He is in it. He's in it because he's invested. He watches the show. He sees the mess. He asks the follow-up questions. And that's why people love him. That's why he continues to host. So it's 2 separate hosts, both doing their jobs, but you can clearly tell when a host is invested and watches the show. And Sean doesn't watch the show, period.
You know what? Okay, yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So she can't go into follow-up questions because she also probably can't give away her own ignorance on certain things.
And that's why she sticks to whatever she's being fed. Because I got to tell you guys, as a journalist, entertainment reporter, some of the best content you get is when you go off script. You have your scripted questions, but if you are actively listening, sometimes they will tell you stuff that they don't mean to tell, but when you follow up, boom, that's where you get the scoop. We're not getting scoop from Sean because she doesn't watch the show. She's not invested. She's like, oh, I can't believe that. Okay. She had an opportunity here, and we're going to talk about it shortly, with menopause. Y'all, I'm just learning about perimenopause and menopause, and some people women hit it in their 30s and their 40s. No one teaches us that. And so when Stacey's like, I don't know what was going on, but I'm just gonna be honest, I'm going through menopause. That should have been a conversation. I'm sorry, Sean, you're 60 plus years old. I don't know, but I'm assuming that you might have gone through menopause. That's somewhere where you could have bonded, even if you didn't watch the show, and informed. That could have been a teaching moment. And it also could have been a moment where you share with other women, young or old, because none of us, no one tells y'all. I'm not there yet, but I'm shocked on the stories that I'm hearing. And I'm like, we had the education in school. We had the classes. They taught you what to do when you start all the things, but they don't tell you as an adult what happens next after all that stuff. And who's supposed to teach you that? You're a grown woman, so now you're Googling or whatever. But anyways, let me get off my tangent. There are a lot of missed opportunities, and I think it's because she's not invested, period. I said what I said, and I stand by it 10 toes deep. It's my favorite saying now, and it's probably wrong, but it's still my favorite.
I have a perimenopause story to tell you later.
Later or now? Separate?
Oh, I'll tell you now. I didn't want to throw you off the next thing, but you guys, I discovered, on the vein of not knowing anything about menopause, perimenopause, I discovered that I was in perimenopause just by happenstance at my dentist office. So here's something for you guys to know that don't already know it. When you start having a lot of plaque buildup on your teeth and it's abnormal, that is a sign of perimenopause. So I went to the dentist.
What?
And I was saying, like excess plaque buildup. I went to the dentist and he asked me how often I was flossing. And I said, I still floss every day, but for some reason, I just have a ton of plaque buildup. I don't understand it. And he said, oh, that's really normal when you start perimenopause. And I said, what? What are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, when you start perimenopause, you don't have as much fluid in your mouth. And so the plaque, it builds up faster, and you're going to have to increase your flossing and increase your brushing. So then I went to the doctor, and he was like, "Oh yeah. So we should probably start talking about this. They're right." What? So there are other things that had been happening to me that I put off on, oh, I'm just working a lot, the brain fog, I'm just tired, the lethargy, the forgetfulness, that were also signs of perimenopause. And I just didn't know. I thought it was something else that was happening with me. But now that I have like a better understanding of what perimenopause is and what it includes, like night sweats, night terrors, like it's not just, all I knew was hot flashes coming into it. That's all I knew. All I knew was you get hot flashes.
So again, you guys, I'm learning. So peri. So what's the difference? Is perimenopause pre-menopause, like symptoms leading up to
Basically.
menopause? And how long does that last?
It's different for everybody. So I started much earlier than my mom did, but my mom had me when she was 35.
Mm-hmm.
So the hormones coursing through her body at my age were very different from me having a 21-year-old, I have one sister who had a partial hysterectomy. So her perimenopause, menopause started long ago, long before she was my age. So it just depends.
See, y'all, someone needs to listen, go ahead and run with that. Some doctor, female doctor, should start a show about this, because 30, 40, 50 plus, these are women that we were never taught this. And I got to tell you, I know that the 20 somethings, they can't get their act together. They can't even write in cursive. So, they don't know anything either. Someone needs to do a show on this and like teach us, because I think it's wrong to be like in your 30s and be like, what? Perry, what? Perry, who?
Right, exactly. And then the biggest one that people are learning about, well, I'll tell you two more things. These two things might scare you a little bit. I used to be a big fan of using menstrual cups. I can't use them anymore.
Cups?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can't anymore, because when you're in perimenopause, it changes the positioning of your cervix.
Oh, Lord. I was going to let me sit down, but I'm already sitting.
Yeah. So I was wondering, like, why can't I get my cups to stick? Like, it used to be very easy to pop them in and out. And then when I went to my last doctor's appointment, he even had to like dig around and be like, okay, where's your cervix? Where's your cervix? Oh, there it is. What?
See? Listen, I'm
So
learning
if that's
y'all.
TMI, Michelle, if that's TMI, I won't even tell you the second thing.
Listen, I don't think it's too much information, and here's why. You guys, no one's having these discussions, and at one point, it may happen to you, and you're going to remember this conversation, because we're open and honest enough to be having these conversations. And that's what I love about us. That's what I love about this channel. That's what I love about the live chat, is that we're going to share our stuff. And we're going to all learn a little something. I didn't know that. I'm barely learning about what perimenopause is. And I'm shocked that I'm grown, and I'm just like hearing all these stories. I'm like, oh my goodness, what and what?
Yeah.
Tanya, yeah, me too. Super scared. Everyone like swears by them. I can't do it.
I did have to talk a friend of mine was able to get hers in, but then she started having a lot of anxiety about getting it out. And I had to talk her through, like calm her down to get her cup out.
Yeah, it's too much for me. And a lot of my friends swear by them, but it's not for me. Renee, thank you for sharing. My doctor told me that a woman generally menstruates for about 30 years before perimenopause begins. So if you started your period at 14, perimenopause might start at age 44, give or take. So that's some information I didn't know. Think about when you first started your cycle and add 30 years, and there you are. Oh, Lord, it's going to be coming up for me soon, y'all. Woo! That's years, but woo, I'm learning.
Right.
That being said, let's continue to talk about Stacy, who again, while we're talking about this, is that she shared that she's going through menopause. It's hard for her to talk about. She's going through a lot of changes. Florian doesn't understand it. You know, Florian's like 39. I get it. I don't know anything either, Florian. I'm trying to learn with you, friend. Doesn't know what menopause is. Brandon tries to chime in, which I thought was hilarious. And I'm so glad his wife told him to stop talking.
Right down.
Because, man, baby, you don't know anything about your own life. So let's not try to mansplain menopause to a bunch of grown-ups. That was funny, Linda. Circle back on that, y'all. Rewind that because that was really funny. So then Rob chimes in about hormones changing, menstrual cycles changing. I did appreciate him saying, "That's all I know. I'll leave it to you, ladies." Great, because again, I don't need a man to explain anything to me, considering you don't even know what you're talking about and you have a messy relationship. Stacy talks about weight gain and foggy brain, and Florian calling her bipolar because her emotions are all over the place, being emotional and all of those things, which are all, I am told, part of being or going through menopause. And my note says Sean is savage. She had no reaction. And here's where I thought, again, she missed an opportunity because, you know, she's one of the oldest on the screen, even though she looks the youngest because, you know, black don't crack. And so she had an opportunity to share, which she doesn't have to, right? Like that's her personal business, but she could have at least explored that for the audience. I mean, I could do the metrics and tell you who the audience is, but just generally speaking, it's 90% women. Missed opportunity.
Yeah, very much.
Then they go into flashback. They show the Jasmine Gino Florian fight where Jasmine spills Florian's drink. It's all messy. They're all screaming at each other, etc., etc. Goes back to what I was saying earlier in the show. Jasmine is the center point of other people's relationship drama, and I just don't think that that's okay. Even though this was her and Gino, the way that she was attacking Florian says something about her, and it says something about how she continues to get in other people's relationships for what? In the fight, I laughed because I had forgotten this. April, have you remembered when Florian called Jasmine a chihuahua?
No, I don't remember that.
Oh my God, the flashback was so funny when he called her a chihuahua. I don't know. I just laughed because it is like she's. Oh my God, that's hilarious to me.
Yeah, I didn't remember it. He's hilarious. He's a riot.
Florian says he doesn't regret his actions. He doesn't regret the fights that he's had with these people because he was standing up for himself. But then Stacy shares that he has, in the past and during this time, a time off of the show, has called her the B word and the W word. And Florian. Calling Jasmine a chihuahua is one thing, but your wife of 9+ years, you're still throwing out these words towards her when you're angry.
That's ridiculous. It's not okay to do these things in anger, guys, and then just say that I was just angry when it happened. It's not okay.
It really is not, you guys. It's not. Have respect. That's your wife. That is your significant other. Ari jumps in and tells Florian that his anger issues. And then when his boy, who in that fight, Florian thought he was defending Gino comes around in the tell-all, y'all, and says to Florian, to his face, I do think you have some anger issues, and I do think you should work on it. The only rational thing that Gino has said thus far.
In weeks. It's the only rational thing that Gino said. Well, you know what? Beyond weeks. Have I ever heard Gino say anything rational or reasonable? I don't think so.
I have not. That's why I said the only rational thing he's ever said.
Yeah, that he's ever said. It truly is. And nobody mentioned it, but as an example, the way that he got so angry over thinking that he didn't have a personal invitation to this to Brandon and Julia's room when they got that suite as a prize for something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would have been a really good example of you need to get a handle on your anger. But when he was trying to respond and answer the question, when he was asked directly one question, I did notice that Stacey cut him off and didn't give him a chance to even get his full answer out. So that's obviously a problem that they're still having. She said she was going to work on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 100%. Now, y'all know how I feel about Josh. So for him to be the voice of reason was conflicting me. So he puts his hand on Florian's shoulder and says, listen, because Florian was about to go off because Stacey's like, oh, so you blaming me for our problems in the marriage and not doing enough in therapy, all this stuff. And he was about to go off. And Josh puts his hand on the shoulder and said, that is not what she's saying. I think that you are just a very direct person and you need to show Stacey a little bit of your softer side. Stacey deserves soft Florian. I was like, what day is it today?
It's broken clock day. It's broken clock day. Gino said something reasonable. Josh said something reasonable. It's broken clock day.
Listen, y'all, again, shocked that, like April said, I was agreeing with Josh. Toxic Josh was speaking in the voice of reason. Oh, Lord. Where are we? The world is a mess. Moving on to Darcy. So Darcy and Georgie are invited and show up. And you guys, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I just will say that, first of all, Darcy and Stacey no longer look like twins. Darcy, we listen and we don't judge, Linda. We listen, we don't judge. Darcy.
So can I just, while you're getting your thoughts together, what's interesting to me is that whenever I watch that show, Botched, the plastic surgery show, and when I went to my consultations, both of the plastic surgeons were very, very interested in making sure that your angles from the front and from the profile were going to make sense. They were very concerned with, you know, asymmetry here and your profile. I don't wonder if Darcy has seen her profile.
I don't know. All I can tell you guys is that Darcy and Stacey, I just don't know what's going on. They definitely do not look like twins anymore. I do feel like Darcy's appearance is a little bit more harsh for my personal opinion. I think Stacey's appearance is softer for whatever that means, but I feel sad because if they're happy, hey y'all, that's on them, that's their life, let them live their best lives. But like, I don't know, it just was, I was taken aback a little bit. That's all I'll say. I was taken aback.
It doesn't look comfortable. I don't mean that as a dig at all, but it doesn't look comfortable.
And they look so different now. Darcy looks so different than Stacey. So, like, just, wow. Anyways, they come out, and I laughed because Stacey was like, everyone stand up. The diva has arrived. And they stood up, and they clapped for her. Y'all, if that is not
That's how you command an audience, Stacey.
facts. Like, okay, go ahead, Darcy. Go ahead. That was hilarious to me. And then, do you guys know who Ohani is? Do you know who she is, April?
I don't know who Honey is.
The girl that went to Pakistan to meet her online boyfriend, and then she ended up lost in Dubai. She's from Brooklyn.
Oh, Nija.
Nija.
Yes. All I want is give me land. I want $2,000. Give me land, and that's it. No more talking today.
Okay, so have you seen her recent thing where it's the finger on the lip?
No.
Okay, y'all
Is
need
that
to
her-
go look it up, because if you don't know what I'm
respectful
talking about, no, it's this. And then she does this thing with her leg that she like cranks her leg and she does this.
No.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Y'all are missing out. Anyways, if you haven't seen it, then you're gonna miss this reference. But Sean, when Darcy came out with Georgie and she's about to talk, Sean did this. And I died of laughter because I don't think he knows what this means. So, if you don't know, look it up, y'all. That shit was hilarious.
Yeah, Onija needs to come to 90 Day or
With
to
her
TLC.
Pakistani
She has a
husband,
whole
100%.
whole reality show unto herself. Hilarious.
100%. 100%.
Yes, the woman who catfished the guy. Yes.
Yes, Tanya. Yes, you guys need to Google it because it's super funny. And then when you see this happening, the finger under the nose, you'll laugh even more because that's what Sean just did. That being said, Darcy talks about twin life, and Darcy's really big on like the twin life. Twin life is all that they know. They've always been twins, which again reminds me that the therapy was no therapy because the therapist literally told them to go and try to live their separate lives and spend some time apart so that they not only will love and appreciate each other, will miss each other. But clearly in one ear out the other ear. And one of the things that was not really addressed was Darcy was the issue in Stacey and Florian's relationship. And that closeness that Florian and Darcy had was an issue for Stacey. And the therapist told them to, like, you know, back up, go live your own life and be with your own husband and let Stacey be with her husband. And Darcy was like, no, I open up with Florian. I get to vent to him. I get to tell him about my issues in my relationship. Sometimes Stacey doesn't want to be bothered with my issues. And I, again, missed opportunity. So you really want to reach out to your sister, but your sister doesn't want to be involved in your issues with your relationship, or maybe doesn't have time because she's in her own relationship and has her own issues. So we're not going to explore that. We're just going to let Darcy say that and keep it pushing. Missed opportunity, because therein lies the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Therein lies the
Right.
problem.
Therein lies the problem.
Your sister's
Absolutely.
husband about your husband and your marital relationship issues, inappropriate times, 3 a.m. plus, because you have no one else to talk to. How about talk to your husband? How about work out the issues with your husband? How about go and get a therapist in the regular 9 to 5 hours and deal with the issues that you have, rather than disrupting your twins' marriage, knowing that you're a source of contention in that marriage. I can only think that you're doing it because you're unhappy in your marriage and you want your sister to be unhappy in hers.
Right. And you guys, it's okay. Like Michelle said, perhaps she's still dealing with some of the grief of losing her brother. It's okay, no matter how long ago a loss occurred, if you want to go to therapy anew. You don't have to think to yourself, oh, it happened X number of years ago. I've already dealt with it. It's okay to go seek some help, okay, no matter how long ago it was, because maybe that is part of the problem for both of them, actually, because we heard Florian say that he doesn't want to deny any of Darcy's calls because he lost siblings as well. So both of them are having that compulsion out of grief to do something they know is upsetting Stacey, it's okay, even though years have passed, to go seek some professional help for that.
It's never too late to get help, especially if you've not dealt with the trauma. That's it. Sean asked Georgie, do you think Florian and Darcy are too close? And he says no. And then she follows up with, should Stacey trust Florian? And this is the cliffhanger for part 3, y'all. Georgie says maybe not 100%.
Well, we already did see Georgie throw him under the bus one time, so are we surprised?
Y'all, that was dirty, grimy. Listen, if you're boys, be boys. If you're not boys, say that. Because what you just did there, okay.
Yeah, that was rude.
Terrible.
That was rude.
That's everything. That is part 2 of 90 Day The Last Result. Part 2 of 90 Day The Last Resort. Tell all, you guys, make sure to like and subscribe. We will be back next week with part 3. Allegedly, it's a 4-part, so we're going to be talking about this for a little bit.
Okay.
We're heading over to TikTok on Abby the Attorney's TikTok. So if you have TikTok, get over there. You guys, we want to hear what you have to say. If you're watching the replay or you didn't get a chance in the live chat, let us know your thoughts and we'll respond.
Please.
Until next time.
We'll be in the comments.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Till next time. Farewell. TTF.